let's move on to the fan favorite portion of the show. This week in history. Trivia style, brother. 7 questions, all from the previous week in history, set to medium difficulty with multiple choice responses. Question number 1. In 1980, which video game character made his debut in the arcade game Pac-Man? I set the questions to medium difficulty. He says Mario, okay. Maybe you're right. Maybe you are right. I don't know. I am going to read you the multiple choice options. And Mario is one of them. As is Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, and Sonic the Hedgehog. In 1980, which video game character made his debut in the arcade game Pac-Man? You know, I think it's just a stupid question. But at the same time, I'm thinking made his debut in 1980 in the arcade game Pac-Man. No, Pac-Man was a man because there was a Mrs. Pac-Man. Yeah, I'm just going to go with Pac-Man. That just seems to, I feel like AI doesn't understand medium difficulty. But then again, many things AI does. Jessica's with me on Pac-Man. James is going with Mario. Dwight is tapped out. Robert is not playing. The usuals. I'm happy to have you. I'm happy to have some of my favorite people. Question number 2. Which famous aviator completed the first solo non-stop flight across the Atlantic in 1927? Which famous aviator completed the first solo non-stop flight across the Atlantic in 1927? Was it Charles Lindbergh, Howard Hughes, Amelia Earhart, or Chuck Yeager? What I think is funny about that is 2 of these people were mentioned earlier in the episode. We talked about the spruce goose of Mr. Howard Hughes, and we talked about a landing like Earhart. That should be a song. That's a good song. 1927, James says Lindbergh. Jessica, yet to answer. I think we can narrow it down between, I'm not going to narrow it down for you. The options are 1927, first guy to cross the Atlantic by himself, Charles Lindbergh, Howard Hughes, Amelia Earhart. Aviator. They don't say his, but we know it's not her, and Chuck Yeager. James says Lindbergh. He also says that Mario was his funny answer. And you are allowed one funny answer and then one real answer. So I'm going back to look at Jessica says Lindbergh. And you didn't answer, man. You said Mario, and then you said a profanity, and then you said, is it Pac-Man? And this isn't Jeopardy. Okay? So you're stuck with Mario for your answer. Jessica says Lindbergh. James says Lindbergh. I concur. It was Charles Lindbergh was the first one. Bonus points. What actor played Charles Lindbergh in the movie based on The Crossing? All right. Can you imagine what the actor would be? He left, man. He's busy. He's got stuff to do. Question number 3. In 1932, who became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic? 1932, who became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic? Was it Harriet Quimby, Bessie Coleman, Amelia Earhart, or Ride, Sally, Ride? Sally Ride. That was her actual name, Sally Ride. One of my favorite covers done by the band Hootie and the Blowfish. They do such a great job at all you want to do is ride around, Sally. James says it's Earhart. Jessica is slow to type. Again, 1932, who became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic? Was it Harriet Quimby, Bessie Coleman, Amelia Earhart, or Ride, Sally, Ride? Sally Ride's eyes were blue. That's a great joke. I was a kid when that happened. We all told the same jokes. What was the last thing to go through their mind? Yeah, their buttholes. Yeah, we did that. Jessica says Earhart. I agree. We all agree. It's Amelia Earhart was the first woman. The bonus points questions that you missed out on was who was the actor that played Charles Lindbergh in the movie about the crossing of the Atlantic? It was Jimmy Stewart. Who was an actual pilot? Huh? You need an actor to play the movie role, and I'm the guy. Question number 4. What famous prison riot and hostage crisis began in New Mexico in 1980? What famous prison riot? To me, that's just a great phrasing. We got a lot of prison riots. You remember the famous ones? You remember the famous prison riots? Well, which one of them began in New Mexico in 1980? Was it the Attica prison riot? The New Mexico State Penitentiary riot? The Waco siege? Or the Alcatraz occupation? What famous prison riot and hostage crisis began in New Mexico in 1980? Yeah, I guess we haven't been doing well, and ChatGPT is really trying to make us feel better about ourselves and just giving us the dumbest question answer series possible. Yes, James, it wasn't Attica. Attica. It wasn't the famous Attica prison riot because Attica is not in New Mexico. You know what's not also in New Mexico? Waco. You know what's also not in New Mexico? Alcatraz. So that means the question, what famous prison riot and hostage crisis began in New Mexico in 1980 must be answered with the New Mexico State Penitentiary riot. It's the only one that's in frickin' Mexico or New Mexico. So, an asterisk, we're all getting that right. But we shouldn't, because ChatGPT is stupid. It's stupid. Question number 5. Which legendary boxer was born on May 19th, 1925? Which legendary boxer was born on May 19th, 1925? Was it Muhammad Ali? Was it Joe Louis? Was it Sugar Ray Robinson? Or was it Malcolm X? I hope that head slap translated well. Obviously, it's Rocky Marciano. That's hilarious. It's not Malcolm X because he's not a legendary boxer. So your chances of 25% being right are now up to 33%. It's either Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, or Sugar Ray Robinson. But I don't know. I don't know the answer. I think of who it could be, but I have to think about when they died to remember kind of how old they were. I don't think the legendary boxer born on May 19th, 1925 was Cassius Clay. James is going to go with Joe Louis. I don't think that's a bad guess. Jessica's going to go with Sugar Ray. And you may get confused because there's more than one Sugar Ray. And, boy, the sugar was the sweetness, right? You think of sugar, oh, he's so sweet and sugar. No, this was the sugar, son. There was more than one Sugar Ray in boxing. Jessica's going to go with Sugar Ray Robinson, and I think she's on the right track. I think it is Sugar Ray Robinson. I did like your "Get your hands out of my pocket." That's a great quote. He was drafted in the 60s, so he would have been too old. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's not Cassius. If the man wants to be called Cassius Clay, if he wants to be called Muhammad Ali, I call him Muhammad Ali. So it really did come down between Joe Louis and Sugar Ray. You chose Joe Louis. Me and Jessica chose Sugar Ray. I think we're correct. Question number 6. Which bridge opened to traffic in 1937, connecting San Francisco and Marin County? So all the way up to what bridge opened in traffic in 1937? Well, that's a hard question. And then they say connecting San Francisco and Marin County. Here we go. Oh, that was a little fucking hard. A little too hard. Yes, Brooklyn Bridge is an option, as is the Golden Gate Bridge, the Mackinac Bridge, and the Tower Bridge. These are your options. Brooklyn Bridge, Golden Gate Bridge, Mackinac Bridge, or Tower Bridge. What bridge opened to traffic in 1937 connecting San Francisco and Marin County? James decides to give his actual answer, the Golden Gate Bridge. We're waiting on Jessica, but while we're waiting on Jessica's answer, I'm going to tell you that the Golden Gate Bridge guy who made the Golden Gate Bridge made the same bridge in Lisbon, Portugal. You go from the thing to the thing, and you got to go over the bridge, and it's the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's in Europe. Yes, the Mackinac Bridge in Michigan, yes. And the Tower Bridge in London, and the Brooklyn Bridge in Brooklyn, and the Golden Gate Bridge is the only answer. There we go. She gave her answer. We all know it's the Golden Gate. This is a special week where we shouldn't get any credit at all. Final question of the day. In 1962, which astronaut became the first American to orbit Earth? 1962, which astronaut became the first American to orbit Earth? Here are your options. Is it Alan Shepard, John Glenn, Gus Grissom, or Neil Armstrong? 1962, which astronaut became the first American to orbit Earth? Alan Shepard, John Glenn, Gus Grissom, or Neil Armstrong? James has answered with Glenn. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about your comments, man. I am sure on Glenn. Okay, it's Glenn. I got it. You say it's Glenn. Jessica? A, B, C, or D? You don't even have to type the words. Just give me a letter, woman. And we're going to wrap it up, because I'm getting ready to tape a new episode of the Lens B Show with T-Bone and Chick Brew, coming to you every week wherever fine podcasts are sold. I'm not going to wait any longer. There it is, Glenn. Okay, So we all agree it's Glenn. I think we all went 5 for 5. Because normally it's 7 questions. And no, I think James missed one. A legitimate one. Yeah, the Mario one. All right, here's the answers. Let's get that out right now. Answers, please. And the answers to this week's trivia. Number 1 was Pac-Man. Number 2 was Lindbergh. Number 3 was Earhart. Number 4 was New Mexico State Penitentiary Riot. Number 5 was Sugar Ray Robinson. Number 6 was the Golden Gate Bridge. And number 7 was John Glenn. Now, considering that Golden Gate Bridge and New Mexico State Penitentiary were so obvious, there's no way you could have got them wrong. Those 2 questions are eliminated. If you got 5 out of 5, good for you. I'm so happy for you. If you said Mario and then is it Pac-Man with a question mark, you can give yourself a point because you're keeping your own score. But there better be an asterisk next to it. Jessica, great job. T-Bone, great job. We did fantastic. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up today. I remind you today, as I remind you every day, just be the best person that you can be. And if you are a great person today, be an even better person tomorrow. Chick Bruce sends her love. New episode of The Lunsby Show coming out soon. Lunsby. I should have had this on click.